Monday, July 12th, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? On Point Discussion live for you all tonight, exclusively on the Lounge Room Network, powered by our friends over at One Call Tech, and of course, over at Fanatics. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight Wyatt is out golfing with his father. I think it's his birthday today, so happy birthday to Wyatt's dad. He will be joining us, though, a little bit later on in the show for the second half. But for now, it's just going to be Wyatt and I, Julius and I just kind of leading this thing. And we hope that all of you who are watching us tonight are just as entertained and into the topics of discussion that we have for all of you on the show. First and foremost, though, Julius, how are you, sir? Happy Monday. Happy start to your work week. I know that this past week for you, sir, has been it's been rough. It's some stuff happened. I don't want to speak for you, so I'll let you kind of explain, as however much you want to share on your end, and we can kind of go from there.
Well, how you doing, my man Juan? Glad to be on this show again. And personally and honestly, I'm glad that I am back on this show, literally. Because it was a very dramatic experience I witnessed this past Wednesday. I was involved in a major car accident, for those listeners who don't know, in which there result in loss of life. I'm not really going to get into the details of the accident. I posted a couple links on my Twitter page, but it was very dramatic, very dramatic. Luckily, I was in a big truck, and that truck honestly probably saved my life. So I am grateful to God. I am grateful to all my loved ones and all my friends, including you, Juan, and including so many of you of what I like to call the Twitter family that reached out to me with kind words, and it meant a lot to me. I really want to thank you. And I'm so happy to be back. I wasn't hurt. I was hurt. I messed up my hand a little bit. But a couple nicks and bruises. I'm here. I'm ready to talk. And let's just live. I wrote on Twitter, just, live life graciously and fully. And those kind of experiences really help you realize that. So I just want to really, once again, thank everybody for their well wishes. And I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to be talking to you, Juan. And thank you. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for allowing me to share this platform with you. So that's what I got for that one.
I don't want to share too much either, but what I will say is, I recall seeing the text message come up letting us know that that happened, and it was a very very somber moment. Was very upset, very worried, in that short time frame that between us finding out obviously what had happened and coming to terms with the fact that you hadn't been involved in an accident. And I'm super thankful that you're obviously here, that you're with us. And if it would have been worse, obviously that would have been a different conversation we would have been having. I'm glad you're here.
Life, you never know. You never know what might happen. That's all I'm gonna say. You never know when you wake up in the morning. Whether you're 16 years old or whether you're 66, no matter your profession, no matter your race, ethnicity, just appreciate life while you're here. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got. That's my message to everybody. Appreciate life, and hug your loved ones and watch out on the roads. Be very careful. There's a lot of crazy drivers out there, and in my case, it was a crazy criminal running from the police. But just be aware on the roads at all times and live life graciously.
Absolutely. I think that's a good, probably a good way to kick off the show then tonight, right? With a nice positive message. And again, thankful you're here, and hopefully your recovery goes by quick, and you can get back to normal here in the very near short term. So let's go ahead and get started then with tonight's discussion. So, big story of the day, of course, has culminated around what is happening on the island of Cuba, 90 miles to the south of course, of the tip of Florida. Lots of protests currently taking place down in the country right now. For those who don't know, right, Cuba right now is experiencing a severe shortage of COVID-19 vaccines, and the people there are now rising up and basically just going after or rebelling against the government, right? That is, of course, a communist government, socialist government down in Cuba. So, there's been some backlash, of course, from a few members of the media, right, saying that that the president isn't doing enough, or that there hasn't been enough condemning of the message that's being sent to the state. And by state, of course, I mean country, not the state of Cuba, but but where where are we with this, right? Is this something that like the president should be, or even the vice president, our State Department, is this something that we need to continue to actively condemn? I mean, do we just sit back and fiddle with our thumbs and just kind of hope for the best? I mean, because it's just a very difficult it's a difficult process, right? Because you can't, with all the blockades in place and so many of those other things that currently kind of prevent the United States from having formal relations with Cuba, right? It's difficult to get any sort of supplies, vaccines, right? In this case, down to Cuba to help. So I don't know. Do we use this as an opportunity to extend an olive branch to Cuba, to their government? I mean, how do we begin, or maybe there isn't a role that the United States has to play. Maybe we just stay out of it. Who knows? But I guess, what are your thoughts? Like, what do we do, if anything?
So, Cuba, the small island nation just south of Florida, picked this poison a long time ago, right? Somewhere in around the mid 20th century, they had a revolution over there, a socialist, communist revolution. And they've stayed behind that red curtain ever since. Just recently in the Obama administration, did they just start to reopen ties with America as far as travel, as far as export, import of goods. But what you have are people that, for better or worse, mostly worse, as we can see in this situation in a pandemic, socialism has failed them. Okay, communism has failed them. They have failed these people like it's failed almost every other nation who's tried to enact it on Earth in history of all time. It's never succeeded, and so Cuba is still trying to push it, and it's not working out for their people. And we live in a very interconnected society because of the internet. And so what you have is pro-democracy demonstrations in Cuba. Now, the thing about the Cuban government that's different from the American government is they're not a democracy, and they will literally beat down their citizens in the streets, throw them in jail, or rot away in prison if they choose to continue doing this. Okay. Now, they have the numbers right now in the streets to kind of prevent that in a way. But if this starts to escalate, the reason America is so questionable in this whole event, in my opinion, is because of the socialist movement going on in America right now with AOC and Bernie and and Biden. In a way, even the Biden administration has shown a leaning towards socialist policies, and there's a lot of Americans, myself included, that's not so keen on those socialist, more pro-capitalist, pro-democratic. So the reason that this is such a conundrum for America in a nutshell is because you have a communist country in Cuba whose citizens are pretty much uprising on their government. They don't want to starve to death. They don't want to go broke. They don't want to have to swim across that 190-mile channel or whatever it is across to Florida to get freedom. They want freedom where they are. And so just like any other freedom uprising in history, this is what you see. Question to Joe Biden, question to the American administration is, are y'all going to stay behind freedom no matter what? Or is there any kind of questionable, relationship at all with the American government and the communist Cuban government? Like, is there any kind of support in any way for against the citizens of Cuba for the government of Cuba by the American government? And there's already been a few politicians in Congress who have, kind of hounded out support in a way for socialist and communist governments around the world. So we'll see what Joe Biden does with it, but it shouldn't be a hard decision, in my opinion. I'm all pro freedom.
Just in the span of you just kind of giving that, giving your take on this, about a minute ago or so, the U.S. Coast Guard has actually just issued a warning against quote unquote unsafe and illegal maritime migration, including vessels leaving from Florida to Cuba. So from mainland United States, right, heading towards Cuba, that the U.S. Coast Guard is now on that. So I don't know.
There's a lot of pro-democracy Cuban Americans in the Miami, South Beach metropolitan area. Thousands, tens of thousands, actually. They've been protesting the last couple of days in the streets of Miami and Little Havana. There's a huge pro-democracy movement going on there. So I could see why that might, become an issue now for the Coast Guard.
Yes, and actually, I was also, because I'm just scrolling through social media right now to see what exactly is happening in the most recent, news that's coming out. And Miami right now is I mean, they're having complete, I don't want to say protests because they're not protests, but they're marching in the streets of Miami as we speak right now, waving the Cuban flag, doing expressing support for for the Cuban people who are currently uprising against the regime that is in power. Now, if there's anyone watching on the show who lives in Miami, right, who is maybe seeing some sort of pro-Cuban uprising, not uprising, but rally of support for the Cuban people, please drop a comment, because I want to see what, it's always good to have that firsthand perspective right on the ground of what is happening down there. But right now, this is a very large showing against the Cuban government that's in power right now, which again it is a socialist government. I would be willing to go as far as to say maybe a hybrid form of a dictatorship. I don't know exactly how dictatorial the Cuban government is now. I know that it was pretty bad under Fidel Castro, right? As is normally the case with a lot of these a lot of these these communist countries, right? Their leaders tend to get very authoritarian. So I'm not quite sure what the government in Cuba is planning to do about this right now. I have not seen any reports yet saying that the Cuban government has released the military onto the streets of Havana to start squashing some of these oppositional uprisings. Nothing has come up yet, but I would be under the impression that the second that a news story breaks from Cuba that there are protesters being killed in Havana or wherever it may be, that is that's going to send shockwaves. And I would not be surprised if the United Nations, if someone gets killed down there, the United Nations is going to start acting, and it's going to start prompting a lot of international outrage, because once you start killing innocent bystanders, especially women and children, that's when you really start to get a global reaction. Now, it shouldn't be like that, obviously, right? Every life is precious, but once those groups of people start, you start hearing the stories of them getting either tortured or murdered by a military, then that's when we're really going to start seeing those ripple effects of this whole situation. But yes, right now, again, the U.S. Coast Guard has issued a warning for any unsafe and illegal maritime migration for vessels leaving the mainland U.S. in Florida down to the island of Cuba. So that advisory is out. So I'm assuming that there have been people already trying to get out there, right, to make it to Cuba or at least enter the maritime water, area of Cuba for whatever reason that may be. I don't know if they're, picking people up at sea, literally picking them up at sea. I don't know. I know that's happened, but that advisory is out there now. So we just have to keep seeing what is happening here, because these, there are thousands upon thousands of Cubans right now who are currently protesting against this shortage of vaccines, the shortage of food, right? We've got shortages basically, this is a full-blown economic crisis down in the island of Cuba, right? And the president's name, I'm going to just put this out there. His name is Miguel Diaz-Canel. He is the president, saying that, quote, these are people, right? The citizenry of Cuba saying this, quote, down with the dictatorship. So, and Diaz is blaming the U.S. for the unrest, right? He's saying that the United States, that we're out here creating this propaganda and all that for the Cuban people to go out and protest. Well, let me just say this, right? To my knowledge, I was under the impression, and I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. And if someone in the comments is watching this and wants to correct me, please, because I want to make sure I'm informed correctly. But it was my impression that that there's so much censorship in this country, right? How would regular, like, just normal citizens, right, who maybe don't have the technology, like, how would they be able to get a lot of this information about so and so, U.S. Insurgency efforts, right? Like, how would you be able to get that, right, in a communist country? So I guess I'm not really able to connect those dots. And if someone is watching and wants to correct me on that, please feel free to do so. But I'm just not seeing where that connect is between, the U.S. flooding the gates of Cuba and storming in with all this propaganda, and a regular Cuban, citizen, right? How would they be able to get that message if maybe a lot of these places maybe don't have the resources, right? The technology, the internet, or the connection to be able to receive those notifications. I don't know.
The Cuban government is just mad that they people want to be free. That's all it is. So they blaming America. And when they talking about blaming America, let me tell you who they blaming. They're blaming the right side of the political spectrum, because we're the pro freedom side.
Mm-hmm.
So the pro freedom side is making all their Cuban citizens want to be free. So they're mad because of Fox News, something that they don't even let their citizens watch. Okay. A strong leader, a strong government never blames another country or another leader for their own country's internal problems.
That's a very what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a very shameful thing to do. I know that's probably not the best word to use, but if you're the president of a sovereign nation, right, and you've been running your country with the same style of leadership for the past, oh God, I'm trying to think. So Cuba became a dictatorship under the communist regime in 1959. That was when they made the flip from when President Bautista was ousted from power in Havana, and Fidel Castro led his guerrilla warfare and all that, and that's how they ended up getting power in Cuba. And then the embargo happened in the 60s with Kennedy and whatnot. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And there's been, of course, a whole bunch of turbulent issues. Cuban Missile Crisis, the Bay of Pigs invasion, that was obviously botched. uh, Soviet Union helping Cuba until it's basically its downfall in the 90s. That otherwise Russia would probably still be funding a whole bunch of these socialist policies, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are, to be quite honest with you, to this day. But I do want to just read off some more headlines here, right? That President Biden has told the government, or has called on the government to quote unquote hear their people, right? We also have the Mexican president coming out and saying that it would be wise, or he's recommending that the U.S. government lift its embargo on Cuba. Now, the reason I bring up the Mexican president is because, number one, Mexico never really had an issue with Cuba, right? There never has been any distancing per se between Mexican and Cuban relations. And another important thing to bring into this conversation is the fact that the president of Mexico happens to be a very far left, style. He has a very far left leaning style of leadership, right? So he's almost to that point where you could actually I would be willing to call him a democratic socialist. Actually, he's borderline, Bernie Sanders kind of in the way he thinks. I'm not saying he does everything exactly in the way that Bernie Sanders would, but it's very close in mimicking of the style itself. So it doesn't surprise me that Mexico is calling on the U.S. to do this, specifically when you think about where the Mexican president, right, kind of leans on the political scale as a whole. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with this, because, like I said, the second there is confirmed deaths over this, that's when you're going to really start to see the international community coming out and saying, you know what, they got to do something, because if there's people dying over this in 2021, you have to find some way to address it.
I think this is actually a pretty dangerous situation, because Cubans usually don't do this. These are the first national protests in 30 years in Cuba. Like, Cuban citizens don't go to the government with grievances. Like, they don't, maybe they're too scared, or just don't have the means, the platforms. This never happens. And it seemed to have spread from like I said, it seemed to have spread maybe somewhat from the pro-freedom, anti-socialist movement of America. I know people don't want to think that way, but it may have. And because a sizable portion of Cuban Americans are conservatives. If you look at the recent 2020 election, I believe Trump got a majority of the Cuban American vote. And Marco Rubio has been elected by mega majorities of the Cuban American vote in his runs for Senate in the recent past. I'm not surprised at all, but this is the first time we've seen another close country of America, close to America or whatever, what have you. Like, it spreads. It's that pro-freedom kind of spread over to Cuba. And that's why the president is complaining, oh, it's the Americans' fault. Oh, they're pro-freedom. Yeah, that's why, because this is the first time. You've seen a lot of the left-wing politics spread to other nations as far as the protests are concerned. But this is the first time it's been more of a right-wing conservative kind of thing going on in another country.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. We haven't seen these kinds of uprisings, at least relatively close to us, this close. Almost, I'd be willing to say, since about the kind of the Cold War era. I mean, we could go back that far. So we'll have to see. But I do want to touch just one other thing real quick before we switch to sports in a few minutes here. I want to talk about this recent news on the kind of some of the violence that's been happening, right, ever since really, the start of the 4th of July, when we started getting reports of, a lot of the violence that's happening in the inner cities, unfortunately. Joe Biden today met with one of the candidates for mayor for New York City. And, I know we probably won't have too much on this, right? But I think it's just good that we just briefly touch on it so that we can begin to address what do we need to do, Like, what do we need to do to kind of get over or start to address some of this, this violent epidemic, right? Because when we think of epidemic, right, we think about COVID and oh, this, the virus and all that. But there's this other epidemic in this country, and that is the continued violence that unfortunately still is ravaging our cities across the country. I mean, where do we even begin to start addressing some of these things?
So this is something that kind of hit close home for me because I come from that type of environment in Detroit, which was very violent, and I saw a lot of gun violence growing up as a kid, and it's a very scary environment. But this is a cause and effect. This is cause and effect in every way. The pandemic doesn't help things at all. But what you have is this newest generation. Okay, violence, gun violence in America is nothing new. It's been going on since the mid 60s, late 60s, in most major cities across the country. Um, and the reason that three generations of Americans have passed by and it's still a problem and it's getting worse is for a multitude of reasons. One is the environment that a lot of this is happening in. It's usually an environment that has a poor lack of education. Um, it's usually an environment that have very little business and job opportunities for the citizens that live there.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, it's just depressing, to be honest. And in today's day and age, another thing that's getting worse, I believe, is the mental health of Americans, of people all over the world. It's very hard to deal with a lot of this. And imagine that you're in an environment in one of these inner cities that's just downhearted and whatnot. I mean, it all mixed together. It's like the perfect storm, and it's only going to get worse until you acknowledge the reasons why it's happening and work towards correcting those. Like I'm a conservative a lot because of financial reasons and fiscal reasons. And there needs to be some kind of money movement to go into these places to bring
Mm-hmm.
awareness that, oh, you don't have to be a gangster. You don't have to pick up a gun. You don't have to sell drugs. There are other ways to do this, okay? And to make people believe that the people that are committing these crimes and in these places, little kids right now growing up in these places who are going to grow up committing these crimes and whatnot. The only way is to go there and change the things that cause these problems.
Mm-hmm.
Fix the schools. We need more opportunity zones in the hood. We need more businesses, more small businesses, more big businesses, more jobs in these places to provide for the citizens so that the real estate and the vibe of the areas start to change, gentrify in a way, but not in that kind of way, but in a way that the citizens there can grow with, because gentrification is not going to help this. Okay. It's not, because it's just going to move to another geographic location. You have to get the cause and effect down. Okay. And you have to gentrify in a way that includes the citizens of that area. So that's the only way that this crime wave, gun violence in America is going to improve. Because if it's just going to stay the same, get worse if we just let it be. If we just let it go. Southside Chicago, Garfield Park, whatever, just let it go. Just let it stay that way forever, and it's going to be that way forever. So, I mean, we've talked about this before, Juan. We've talked about this before. There's nothing that's going to change until Joe Biden and the people in charge. Oh, I want to change this. If they make crime at the top of their list, I guarantee they'll get a lot more votes. They'll get a lot more votes because crime is the number one, according to a lot of polls, it's the number one topic on a lot of Americans' minds right now, is the crime increase in a lot of these neighborhoods. And I'm talking to the people that live in those neighborhoods too. I'm talking to those people. Is that the Justin Fields Abbey I just saw pop across the screen?
Yes, the Justin Field Avies have made an appearance.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to
yes,
roast.
we're going to be starting our sports section in about 5 minutes, so they're a little bit early. But we will get to all those comments I see on the right
No,
side here.
but I was just finishing up on
Yeah,
the
go
crime
ahead.
thing. Like, you know, the people in those places that suffer this crime, we watch it on TV. Most of us, luckily, we're not inside of that environment. But the people that are actually there, there's actually human beings that live around this stuff. We just need to think about them. That's what we need to do. And you don't have to enact a socialist AOC government to do that. I'm just gonna throw that in there. But go ahead.
You always got to throw the jab in there towards AOC, right?
Yeah, most
There's never a show when you don't throw in the AOC jab.
because she'll just say, "Oh, take all the money from the cops and give it to the hood." No, AOC, no.
Oh man, here it this is just my take real quick, and then again we'll switch it over to sports. But definitely continuing education, providing those opportunities for a young citizenry. Finding ways to continue educating our community, especially communities of color that continue to experience a vast majority of the violence that happens. That's the only way we're going to get through this. And unfortunately, I'll be honest, I hate it when the mass media or the national media in this country always points to Chicago as their scapegoat to list off the stats of how many people were unfortunately shot and killed in the city. Like, yes, everyone is aware, right, that this happens in a lot of major cities, unfortunately. Like, we understand that. But why Chicago every single week? I mean, it's like, it's just using that to push a narrative, right? I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair. But that's where we're leaving that.
Chicago does have annually, by far, almost the highest total number of homicides, and it's almost always a person of color that is being murdered. I think that's why Chicago gets the wrath of it, and it's the biggest city too that gets the most, other than New York, which is also starting to.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you, Juan. They do pick on Chicago for the narrative because they don't have to. You can look to St. Louis, Atlanta, New York, Detroit, anywhere else, but they pin it on Chicago, and I'm sad to see that because Chicago is a great city.
It absolutely is. And, before, I just want to throw this out there before we start talking about sports, but go Bears. Yes. Thank you, Julius. It is a beautiful city.
I didn't say go Bears. It's a beautiful city. I said
no, I know you didn't. I just wanted to throw that in there too. Cause here at On Point Discussion, we hope that, or we would like for all of our fellow viewers who are watching us tonight to, of course, get to where they need to go on time. And for that reason, we give you the time here for all of you watching at 7:15 Central, 8:15 in the beautiful city of New York, and of course, 5:15 out west in Los Angeles. For those of you who are tuning in here from the West Coast, thank you very much. We sincerely appreciate it. If you're out watching us on the East Coast, of course, as well, thank you. And here locally in the city of Chicago, beautiful city of Chicago, best city, of course, in the entire country. Thank you very much. What time is it in the dumpster fire of Detroit? Someone asks. It is. Let me give you that time. It is 8:15 in the dumpster fire of Detroit. I know that they don't.
Can I just break up your little announcement right now? Your little time zone announcement. Enjoy this summer, please, dear. I'm just gonna stop everything and tell y'all this right now. All y'all Chicago Abbies, I'm sorry, Wyatt. I'm sorry, Chris. Y'all walked right into a rant. Juan calls this. All y'all little Justin Field avatars out there, listen, enjoy this summer. Please enjoy it. Savor it. Everything you can do, because I promise once the season come around and the first loss y'all take to the Lions, y'all not gonna hear the end of it, and all the trash talk and Justin Field Abby's gonna disappear. So enjoy it now, please.
They don't have clocks in Detroit. They still use sundials because it's just so poverty over there. Just like your sports team, just like the sports team you happen to cheer for that plays in the beautiful stadium.
What I just said, Juan. Enjoy it. That's what you're doing. You're enjoying it. I'm glad. I enjoy it too when it comes back at you. Detroit is the greatest city in this country.
Okay, I heard
Seven.
Detroit city. Now I know Julius on something. What's up with that?
I didn't start. Juan started. He was talking about time zones, and then all of a sudden it was a Lions barrage.
7:16 Central Time, ladies and gentlemen. You have a special surprise for you all here tonight on Point Discussion. So, for those of you who are following us and following the network and kind of what we're doing here, so we actually over the weekend went ahead and made the announcement official that the Lounge Room Network is expanding. And we did obtain a new podcast that will be focused exclusively on the wonderful sports of baseball. Of course, America's pastime, baseball. Go White Sox, of course. Go White Sox. We have with us here today Adam and Chris. They are going to be hosting the Bullpen Lounge. And you know what? I made you guys a little sign here, a little banner for people to follow you guys. So there are their handles. Remember to go ahead and just click that beautiful follow button on Twitter. Gentlemen, how are you two doing? Welcome to the show. I believe this is your first live podcast episode, and I am very, very ecstatic to have you both on the show. Chris, we'll start with you, sir. How's it going, man? I know that you're trying a brand new mic, so I want to give you that opportunity to to go ahead and try it out. How are you?
Yeah,
doing?
let's see how it works. How we coming in?
It's good. It sounds clear.
Good.
I can hear you. Yes, sir.
Good deal. All right. Yeah, I've been playing with it all day. First live podcast ever, so really enjoying it. You guys got great content. Listening to a couple shows today. Heard Jacob's episode from 4th of July weekend. A lot of good banter between the boys. Detroit versus Chicago. Chicago over everything. Yeah, obviously you can see my Mets background. I'm a Mets fan. My dude Adam is a White Sox guy, so I'll let him come in. My name is Chris Krugman. Shy Bears 1985 on Twitter.
Sorry, I saw a comment pop up here. I just wanted to wait till you finish, but it says, "Hey Chris." Yeah, hey Chris. Pretty soon you can take the 1985 out of your ad. We have Justin Fields now.
For real. So excited.
He's lying to you, Chris.
Hey, don't hate, man. Y'all wasted Stafford. Just wasted it. Poor dude up there. So much talent.
You're gonna have 1985 in your ad for a long time.
I'm an old man, so that's okay. It's all good.
Adam, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. What's going on?
Not much. Well, my name's Adam Kunos. You can follow me at Kunos19. I'm doing good. You guys can call me at the end of dinner, so that's why I'm kind of bouncing out. So my apologies. I'm actually really excited to get this podcast started with Chris. We've been chatting a lot about getting this podcast going. And like him, I actually listened to White Sox Weekly podcast today when they were talking about Eloy, who's about 3 weeks out from coming back to the White Sox. So that'll be a big bat back in that lineup. And there you go.
Eloy Jimenez back on the Sox. I'm so stoked.
I'm excited to get him back. And one thing that I talked to Chris about was a couple of teams that have been a little bit of a disappointment. And one team actually has been Minnesota. I'm not complaining, but they've actually been a pretty big disappointment because they had the lineup to kind of be contending with the White Sox, but they have underperformed pretty much all year.
They might blow up in the second half. The Twins might blow up in the second half. They got the talent. They just haven't put it together this season.
I'm still getting comments, and I'm still gonna laugh, Julius. I mean,
I'm getting attacked by Fields right now. Listen. Ain't y'all about to leave y'all stadium to the dust in Chicago and Lake Michigan because y'all can't because it's not big enough? Listen, Ford Field is one of the most underrated venues in the NFL and one of the loudest. And for some reason, I don't know why, we sell it out almost every game. But I'm not about to argue with Fields Avies all day. All right. Anytime I see a Fields Avie, I'm just gonna ignore it. All right. I'm gonna think about his Ohio State days and how no relevant NFL quarterbacks have ever came from that school. So let's just keep it going, buddy.
Hey, they said the same thing about Texas Tech before Mahomes. So
I know,
Sorry
but
about that,
I'm keeping that on Ohio, Chris, until I see it because they've never done it.
you're about to see it, bud. Here it
And
comes.
and last but not least, we got Wyatt here, who again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, was out enjoying some rounds of golf in the beautiful New Mexico scenery out there. Wyatt, if you can hear us, how are you? You look like you're driving home, so I don't wanna distract you too much from the road. But how's it going?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yep.
I'm driving drunk home. No, I'm kidding. I didn't drink at all. But I have my
Jesus Christ.
no, I'm joking. I didn't drink anything.
Okay.
But I have my phone on. I have a mount on my phone, so it's not like I'm not paying attention. I got headphones in, so glad to have you guys aboard on a new podcast. It's always good to hear Chicago content. I get tired of hearing Detroit content because every time we're on here, Julius wants to talk Lions. I'm like, come on, Julius, talk something else.
I'm getting attacked
Kidding,
from all
Julius.
angles right
Love
now.
you, man.
All the listeners who aren't in Fields, Abby, just know I'm strong. I'm staying strong. I have a Bears fan in every corner of the screen, and I'm staying strong. Get it, baby.
Well, luckily for you, Julius, the conversation is not focused on football tonight as much so as it is on baseball. Hence why we have our two baseball podcasters on tonight, because today, and I'm only laughing because it's just a horrible thing that this man said, and I'm just still trying to process what exactly was said by our friend over at ESPN. Mr. Stephen A. Smith today decided to put out some comments that are a little bit, well, not even a little bit. They're flat out wrong. Number one, I mean, horrible thing to say on live television, this morning. But I want to read the quote that that Stephen A. said, right? And he and also, just before we proceed with that, just want to make everyone aware that about 2 hours ago he did issue a formal apology for the comments that were made. So I'm trying to look exactly what he said, but it was basically to the extent of saying that a certain baseball player shouldn't be the face of the MLB because he doesn't speak English, right, without the use of a translator. So I really want to keep this as professional as I can, because I know that this is still a podcast that maybe younger listeners will listen to, and I don't want to offend anyone because that is certainly not my goal either. But what in the hell was Stephen goddamn A. Smith thinking when he said that a certain baseball player cannot be the face of MLB or whatever simply because of the fact that he does not speak English? What kind of message does that send to all of these international players who want to come over here and have a chance at being the next MLB All-Star?
I mean, it sends a message.
Where do we go from there? I mean, like, you have a clown analyst on ESPN, which, by the way, just let me point that out there real quick, that ESPN is garbage. We can start there. ESPN is trash. Honestly, the only morning show I think that is even one that I would give the light of day to at this point is Good Morning Football. Honestly, that's the only sports show that I can even begin to say, you know what, I'm going to turn on my TV. Oh, I'm interested in sports today. I'm going to watch Good Morning Football. Like, I'm not going to watch any of the trash that ESPN puts out. The only thing people are watching ESPN for, I think now, are live sporting events. I mean, I think that's what the vast majority of people are doing now. And again, I am not in any position to tell anyone what they can or can't watch. That's not my job. I could care less. You guys pay your cable bills. I don't. But To me personally, what Stephen A. Smith did this morning with hopping to that conclusion that a non-native English speaker can't be the face of MLB because of the fact that he uses a translator or whatever, that is not only ignorant, but it's stupid. It is stupid, And Adam, I know you're a Sox fan with me, and I know you probably saw some of the stuff that was some of the comments. One of our very own Sox, blue check marks made I think it was like a week or two ago about that Barstool Dave guy, White Sox Dave, right?
Yeah,
and how he made a similar comment about Yoan Moncada, our third baseman, who he said something to the extent of, well, I would interview him, but he doesn't speak English.
I'll also say this doesn't pertain to baseball, but this also goes to soccer, football, any international athlete that wants to come over here to the United States and play in one of these professional leagues. That could be deterrent to them because they can be the face of any of these professional leagues over here. So that's discouraging not to baseball players, but to any athlete who may be across the seas who wants to come over and play in one of these leagues over here. So Ohtani is going to be the face of the franchise because he is that unique DH pitcher combo that baseball has not seen since pretty much Babe Ruth. And the fact that Stephen A. said something like that, I hope Ohtani goes out, wins the home run derby, sets a record, goes out and pitches 2 shutout innings tomorrow in the All-Star game. That's to send the message like, I am here and I'm going to stay.
It's just so disappointing. I'm still very utterly disappointed. Whoever wants to go next, please. I don't care who goes next, but feel free. Chris, if you want to go for it, or Wyatt, I know you guys just both got on the show. Wyatt, why don't you go first, Wyatt? Go ahead, Wyatt. I'll let you go in.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So I feel like ESPN is like trying to shove Stephen A. Smith down our throats like every turn. It's like he's on the for MMA. He has commentary. He has his own podcast and he's talking about baseball and football, and it's clear that he's extended himself too much. Like he used to be the guru for like NBA, but like him trying to talk football, him trying to talk baseball, he's out of his element. And this is like an ignorant comment because Hideki Matsui, the first Japanese baseball player to play in the MLB, like you saw what happened if you guys were around when he started. It took off. Like he needed a translator first, and he took off. He was like one of the stars for MLB, and a lot of people like watching him play just because of his unorthodox batting style and the way he would approach the game. Like it was exciting to see. I remember seeing that. So this is just an ignorant comment. It's another thing where ESPN is trying to shove Stephen A. Smith down our throat so much, but the guy does not know anything about baseball or football. It's clear. Like I've heard him talk, and it's like he comments, like he made a comment about a Bears player earlier in the last season, like saying like, oh yeah, if he can stay healthy. I'm like, the dude hardly sees the field. He got 1 sack against Tampa Bay. The dude doesn't know what he's talking about. And for him to come out and say this is just him spitting out shit that he doesn't know anything about. I mean, to say this guy is taking the MLB by storm, and Stephen A. Smith is out here spinning nonsense out. And I'm surprised that he apologized because he said some pretty asinine comments about some NBA players that he said, oh, I'm not going to take back on Twitter because people have attacked him. Russell Westbrook, I believe, is one person that rings a bell with me. So it's stupidity. And I'm tired of ESPN, like Quan said, I'm tired of ESPN just saying, here's Stephen A. for MMA. Here's Stephen A. with his own podcast. Who the hell cares? Leave him on one thing, and that's it, because we're tired of seeing him put shit out that he knows nothing about.
I always thought he was one of the just kind of did football and basketball. I actually never really thought he made as many comments on baseball as he does, or as he did today, or had as many takes for baseball. Maybe because I don't watch ESPN enough, right? I don't know, but Chris, I'll let you take the floor. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody said, it's pure ignorance. I mean, the guy is just a hot take machine. I mean, that's all he's there for at ESPN. He's just there for, hot takes, reaction, ad dollars. He says something stupid, everybody reacts. They get more viewership, they get more ad dollars, blah, blah, blah. He's ignorant. I mean, him being on an MMA fight night, I was lost. I had no idea why he was on there. That was ridiculous. And then to come out and say that about an international baseball player, which it's an international sport. And in case he didn't know, 33% of the league doesn't speak English and needs a translator. So shut your ignorant ass up. Stop doing these hot takes and just pay attention, please. ESPN has been trash for a long time now. And it's beyond me. I can't even understand why they would do that other than to create ad revenue. And I was talking to my father-in-law the other day about it. It's basically the Howard Stern effect. He says fire takes to get people all riled up and they listen to him longer. It creates more viewership and creates more money for the network, which they don't have enough of. I mean, all right, whatever.
I know ESPN's has been in some hot water for the past few weeks now too. This isn't like the first incident that they've had. Didn't they have they were the network who had like a reporter that said some racist or like borderline like behind the scene racist stuff, right? And then she got pulled from the NBA finals coverage, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Was that ESPN or was that
Rachel Nichols?
Rachel Nichols. She was having a private Zoom conversation. Well, not private. She was having a work meeting on Zoom. And at the end of it, she told a colleague that, Mariah Taylor, I believe her name is, was only getting the NBA Finals job because of her skin color. When Rachel thought she deserved it more off merit, and somebody leaked that conversation and it blew up.
It was terrible. I mean, her comments were awful. The thing that she did say that was true is that ESPN has been doing this for far too long. They've been discriminating women and minorities for years, and they try to put people out there to cover, themselves. But then Rachel got caught saying, some things she shouldn't have said, and it was flat out inappropriate, racist, and she needs to check herself, but ESPN needs to be held accountable as well.
Yeah, ESPN has just been, I obviously I'm not as, I'm probably the youngest one on this call right now, to be honest. All right. I'm in my mid-20s, but I still remember the days, at least, back when, even just 20 years ago, right, when ESPN was actually ESPN, right? Not so much of this extra BS that they put out there now and before, a lot of the scandals and all that. It was a genuinely good sports network at one point. And then obviously we start getting all these revelations about all the stuff that's happened and all of all this drama, and now these horrible sports commentators, right, who have these horrible takes. And don't get me wrong, it's not just Stephen A. Smith. I mean, there's plenty of
Can I mention something real quick, Juan, about
no, you cannot. You cannot.
I test. Stephen A. Smith, Juan, is an idiot. He's an idiot because for a multitude of reasons, but mainly because he didn't realize, he thought he had the hottest take on earth. He really thought that. He did not fear what he was about to say. Why do you think that is, Juan? Why do you think Stephen A. Smith didn't double think about what he was saying? And mention this, earlier in the show, in the beginning of the show, he was making fun of the Nigerian basketball team's last names. He was making a huge joke out of their last names. So he already was prepared for ignorance.
I actually have I have no knowledge of that at all. Actually, I really don't know. So please, if you know, please let me know.
No. I saw it in in a headline that he had earlier made reference to the Nigerians team's names. I looked back at it. Yeah, he was laughing. I can't pronounce none of their names. Wuji Bukut. He was making fun of their names, which is very ignorant in itself. And then he comes back 2 hours later on the same show and questions Otani's greatness because of the language that he speaks, because he doesn't speak English. He's an idiot and is just ignorant. But my question is, why didn't he second guess his decisions on this? Because he wasn't. No. It's not because of money.
Oh no, I mean it's because of money. It's because of money. You're not going to sit here and tell me it's not because of money.
I got a hot take. I'm sad to say that he wasn't afraid to say these things because he is black, and black people are not scared. I'm a black person. For all the listeners, I know I'm light skinned, but don't go thinking nothing. He wasn't afraid. If Max Kellerman, if he would have said this, his career would be over right now. He would have got fired by ESPN this afternoon. You understand that, right? Stephen A knew that wasn't going to happen to him, and he didn't have a fear at all. He didn't even get any backlash. So that's why he didn't double check himself.
I mean, he's getting backlash. You're not going to sit here and tell me he's not getting backlash. I'm just going to go out and say we need to, when it comes to equality of morals, okay? Everybody needs to be held accountable, whether they're black, whether they're white, whether they're as famous as Stephen A, whether they're just a minor blogger or podcaster like me or you. Everybody needs to, be called out when it's some ignorant stuff like this. And he was being openly cringy and racist on ESPN, which, like you said, is having their issues with race and all this other stuff. Most of it caused on their own. It was just a dumb thing to say, and lucky he still got a job right now, because if he wasn't an African American, he would be fired right now. Simple as that. He would be fired. If Max Kellerman said what he said on that show today, made fun of Nigerians' last names, 2 hours, follow it up, and talk about Otani not being the face of baseball because of the language, he would have been gone. He would have been done. So Stephen A, you should feel lucky. Think twice next time. I never watch his show. It was just a very ignorant thing to say. I'm sorry for the rant. But I just wanted to be truthful and honest about why I think he said those things and didn't, stop himself beforehand.
Well, I
need more takes. I don't care.
I want to jump in on this.
I need more, because now Julius has me riled up. So
no,
Wyatt, Chris, or Adam, it doesn't matter. Just keep them coming.
No, honestly, Julius, I'm glad you said it. I mean,
it's just the truth.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And honestly, to me, I'm white, obviously, but like, it's disappointing that you've seen the struggles that minorities have gone through in this country, and then to have a person of a minority come out and like take out another one for his language barrier. Man, you were just putting us back. And then going back to what we were talking about earlier with America, we are not looked at very well right now in the worldview because of racism and gun violence and all of the things that are detrimental to America right now. And to have Stephen A just kind of pile on, especially as a minority, is just, dude, you're setting us back even further.
Well, you want to jump in real quick?
Absolutely, please.
I agree with both Chris and Julius on that, saying that these comments did kind of set us back a little, because the last 4 years we've been trying to build up towards not being that country that is not welcoming everybody. We want to make sure we welcome everyone, but these comments are just setting us back years and years. I feel it's not just Stephen A. Smith. Anytime these comments are made, these are setting us back years and years, and it's hard for us to recover from these comments.
Absolutely. No, it is, because every time something like this happens, we take a step back, and it shouldn't be that way. It really honestly shouldn't, right? So I'm reading the comments here that are coming in. Our Brandon, it says America is the only democratic multicultural nation in the world that actually works. No one should be looking down on us. No, and it's true. Like, no one. I mean, we should be. What happened to being the beacon of the world, right? The example of the world, and now it's like, we have people like Stephen A. Smith coming out and saying these things. Oh, well, he can't be there's no way he can be the face or the, because of the fact that he doesn't speak English, which, by the way, mind you, English, America does not have a national language, so why does it have to be English, right? That shouldn't be the case. And the fact that this false narrative continues to be perpetrated, right, is just it's shameful, and it's very unfortunate. If I'm being honest. Wyatt, any thoughts on this, Wyatt, before we move on?
Nope, you guys hit it perfectly. Julius, good point to bring up.
Julius just wanted to punch air for a little bit.
No, I just had to get it out, man. I just had to.
No, I know.
Because I felt like I was the only one that could, and it was the truth. So I just want to let Stephen A. Smith know. I know you're listening, buddy. I'm disappointed in you.
I know you're listening.
I used to look up to you when I was like 12 years old, and you and Skip used to argue back and forth on TV. But little did I know how much of an idiot you are. So, hey, glad I know it now. Won't watch the show.
I'm a huge fan of Shannon Sharp, and I actually don't mind Skip and Shannon, actually, undisputed. Part of the reason because Shannon is actually really funny. Hilarious. And I for those who follow me on Twitter, I mean, obviously it's all of you, but I always use that short video of Shannon Sharp just laughing his like like
I hate that video.
I love using it because that's the one I use to clown Julius and his.
I know I can just see the laughing emojis right now with that video. Under some random sad Lions article or something, and then you just gonna post that video right there and tag me in it. I know what you're talking about, Juan.
It's almost as bad as that video that was made. You got tagged in earlier by one of our buddies over here in the Justin Fields obbies. Mitch Trubisky is our father.
That was a bland overreaction by Tony Dombrowski. He should have never made that video. Because now Bears fans just use it as a weapon against me on Twitter every day. Mitch Trubisky is our father.
Mitch Trubisky is our father.
Why would you say that? Even if you believe that in your heart, Tony, keep it to yourself. Go cry to sleep in the corner like the rest of us Lions fans do.
The Lions cannot beat the Bears.
Why put that out to the public so it can be used against me? I don't have enough memes to keep up with this, man.
Brandon apparently told you today that Justin Fields is his new daddy. Or no, he told Tony.
That has no effect. Mitch Trubisky has actually beat us. I remember him beating us and looking like Steve Young. But until I see Justin Fields, until I see it, I'm not even responding to that.
Justin Fields is already your father, and that's the way it's going to be. Moving forward, because Justin Fields is going to obliterate the Lions twice.
2 times.
This season. Yes, 2 times.
I can't wait for that Jeff Okudah pick 6. I'm be hollering all over Twitter. It's going to trend.
It's going to trend. Really quickly before we get off here, I know we're approaching we're approaching 8 o'clock here Central Time. NBA Finals, real quick. I just want to touch base on this because I know obviously the finals are a big thing, a big news story, especially here in Milwaukee, where I am, yours truly is located at. And of course, shout out to our guy Brandon, who is the host of the Brew City Pod. He obviously has a lot, way more in-depth coverage on this than I do, or that any of us do. But just really quickly want to touch base on this because, again, it is a very significant moment for the city of Milwaukee because the Bucks are in the finals for the first time since the 1970s. So, Game 3 yesterday, Giannis came out literally swinging. The man put down 41 points for the Brew City to win 120, I believe it was, to 108. I think that was, if I remember correctly, that was the final score. Am I wrong? I see Chris. Or was it 120? Or was it 120, 100?
It was 120, 100.
Okay.
I gamble a little bit, so it was the under.
That's the only reason he knows. Otherwise, he'd be like, I don't care. Did you guys watch the game? Did anyone actually sit down and watch the game?
I watched it. Giannis was absolutely dominating. Guess what? I mentioned it last week. I'm rooting for Milwaukee. Why? Because they're in the Rust Belt. Just like Detroit, they haven't had a championship in 50 years in basketball. And, good luck. Good luck, Milwaukee. Giannis needs to dominate like that every game. It's really enjoyable to watch.
See,
He's a beast.
this is the part where other rival fans, in particular my fellow Bears fans, will jump into my mentions and start pulling the whole. Well, one, Aaron Rodgers, though, I mean, he has part stake in the Milwaukee Bucks. You can't root for the Bucks. So I'm gonna apply that same logic to you, Julius. You can't root for the Bucks because Aaron Rodgers is part owner.
You know why that's not true? You know why that's not true? Real fast, that's not true because the Bucks are a lesser franchise than my own fanship in the Pistons. Y'all are like the little brothers of the Pistons. Y'all ain't never won nothing. Y'all slightly smaller city right off Lake Michigan. I kind of feel bad for y'all. Listen, just take my support, run with it. Good luck to Giannis. He plays with passion. I like to watch it.
Anyone else have a take on the NBA Finals? I mean, I can go on and on about this, seeing that I live here. I can give you guys a firsthand perspective on the vibe that the city feels. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on kind of what you guys have been seeing with the style of play and just with all of the dynamics of the basketball game, right? The series that we've been seeing here, which has been very, it's been physical, it's been aggressive. Obviously, these two teams, coming from where they come from, and not winning a championship at all, or being a very long time since, since they went to the finals. I mean, what any additional thoughts on this series?
Yes, so I actually grew up in Phoenix, so I witnessed the 93 ass whooping by the Bulls, and that was super fun. Actually, not even a Suns fan. I am a Nuggets fan because I'm here in Denver, but I'm rooting for the Suns. I mean, my home, Arizona was my home for a long time. I got a lot of friends back there, a lot of Suns fans. That city's electric, just like Milwaukee is right now. I think it's awesome to see two markets that we haven't seen there in forever. It's good to not see the same, super teams that we've seen time in and time out over the last few years, ever since Boston kind of built the first big three. We've seen nothing but, these free agents go to one market, big markets, and just create, their favorite team. And that's fine, I guess, or whatever. I don't think it's great for the league. I think this is great for the league. Seeing a small market like Milwaukee, Phoenix is a massive market, but still, you don't think about the Suns when it comes to the NBA. Booker's playing out of his mind. He's a fun dude. He's got some classic cars and some swag suits. So yeah, definitely watching and loving the Suns. But Giannis, good God, that boy put it down yesterday and the first two games. I mean, he's got 40 points a game. I mean, he's going to hit a triple-double next time. I mean, he's just playing out of his mind.
He is he's really, I think he's like is it the fourth player, I think, in NBA Finals history to drop over 40 points. I think it's up there. He was, I just recall, again, I was third. He's the third player. I just recall seeing the graphic on my TV screen because I had just gotten home from Chicago and I'm packing everything and getting my life back together. So I was watching the game, but I was also like, my cats. All right, I had to feed my kids. So yes, I do recall seeing the graphic up there with Giannis, and I believe LeBron was up there. I forget who the other person was. I don't know if it was Kobe or if it was who it was, but yes, I do recall seeing Shaquille O'Neal. How could I forget? Right?
Shaq, yeah.
All right, Adam or Wyatt. Any thoughts on the NBA finale, the finals?
I think it's great that again.
Just that the Suns are gonna have.
Oh, sorry, Wyatt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, my audio is starting to cut in and out. I think it's great for Milwaukee and Phoenix that they're both in the finals. Milwaukee, obviously, a very small market team, and Phoenix. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I am a Bulls fan, so I enjoyed the '93 win personally. That was back when I was in grade school, so I'll be happy with either outcome if Phoenix or Milwaukee wins. I kind of a little pull for Milwaukee because I've been following them a little more closely this year, but I think it's gonna be a tough finals. I think it'll still go a couple more games, and it's gonna be a tough fight to the finish.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm very excited to see what happens here. And then Wyatt, you can wrap it all up for us.
Oh, we had a pretty bad storm yesterday, so I wasn't able to watch the game, but I did watch some highlights. We had like 80-mile-an-hour winds here and a lot of trees knocked down and some crazy stuff. But what I saw from the highlights is Phoenix is going to need to make some big time adjustments if they want to keep the Bucks from getting back in the series and winning the next game, because they were all playing off Giannis and inside, and they're leaving a lot of people open. And the Phoenix Suns coach has definitely made some adjustments defensive wise in the NBA playoffs. So I think they'll make the adjustments. But I feel like this series is going to go at least 6 games. So it could go either way. Like you could see the Bucks just win 3 more games and win the series, but we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a tough series. Everyone thought the Suns were going to win in 4, but I never thought that at all.
Bucks in 6. Bucks in 6. That's what I think. I think the Bucks can pull it off, and I hope so, because I would like to experience an NBA Finals parade here in Milwaukee. That would be electric. That would be awesome to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of On Point Discussion on this fine Monday nights, July 12th, 2021. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Thank you for all of the comments. Let's see. One final comment. I would rather watch 60-year-old Michael Jordan play Fat Charles Barkley than watch these finals. That's very unfortunate, because these are pretty. This is a pretty fun series, and it sucks that you feel that way, Brandon. But I guess we all can't like the same things, and we gotta respect the opinions of the audience. Go ahead, Julius.
The super team point? That was a great point.
I think that was Chris.
Yeah. We need more Milwaukee Phoenix finals. We need more of this, like teams who haven't been there, teams who not always there, teams who only got 1 star, maybe 2. That's what the NBA needs. That's what every league needs. Parity creates competition, creates fun. Don't nobody want to watch the Lakers and the Warriors and whoever else build a super team and just play every year. It's boring.
I think I agree with that. I think it's a bit cliche. It gets a little, it gets old after a while, and that's why when Brooklyn got eliminated, right? I was like, okay, that's good. That's good, right? You're not going to see Kyrie, you're not going to see Kevin Durant, you're not going to see, Harden and all that. And then obviously when the Atlanta Hawks got eliminated, I was like, okay, now it's getting real, because now it's like, okay, Milwaukee actually has a chance to make it. And inevitably, they made it. June 1st, I think it was like June 1st or 2nd or whatever, very early June. I made my prediction. It's going to be Suns. It's going to be Bucks. It's going to be in the finals. Carried through all the way. Now I just need the Bucks to win, and I'll be a solid 10-10. Should I have bet money on this? I would if I could. Here in Wisconsin, you cannot do sports betting, so I unfortunately could not make money out of my prediction on Twitter. So with that being said, though,
one on Twitter at BucksFanatico94.
Oh my God, there's another one. That's another one I'm going to add. Let's see. We are now Packers Fanatico, Cubs Fanatico, Brewers Fanatico, Bucks Fanatico. There was another one that got thrown in there too, and I was like, the Packers Fanatico one, that one hurt. That one actually sting a little bit, because I'm like, oh, it wasn't. Yeah, I was a little triggered. I don't get triggered, but I was a little triggered that night. I'm like, yeah, no. Chris here, you can find him on Twitter at ShyBears1985. Adam, you can find him at Kunos19. Julie is at the 5th top. Yours truly at LoungeRootPrez1. You can find Wyatt at the Cornelius 7. He had to slip out of here for the end of the show, but thank you to him also for joining us tonight. You can find the Twitter page at Talks on Point, and remember to give the page at Lounge Room Net a follow. Remember to also follow the new Bullpen Lounge podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Bullpen Lounge. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I know that for Adam and Chris, this is your first time ever using the software here. So please, once we end the live stream, do not log off or anything. We'd like to have you stick around here for a few minutes. For everyone else tuning in on the live stream, this is the end of the show. Have a good work week. Have a good rest of the of your week in general. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We will be back next Monday night for another episode of On Point Discussion. Yours truly next week will be traveling to AmFam Field for the White Sox and Brewers series. I will be out there, and it's going to be great. Maybe I will do a live segment out there at the tailgate when I'm 30 Jello shots in. We will see. I don't know yet. I guess it just depends on whether or not I start a fight in the tailgate or, I'm just kidding. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe. And as is tradition on the show to end the show on a weekly basis, go Bears and go White Sox.
And go Tigers.
Go Bears.